Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The Indiana Basketball Weekly Show is brought to you by mybookie.ag. You can go to www.thegruelingtruth.net and click on the mybookie.ag banner to bet the Indiana-Ohio State game if you want on Saturday, Sunday, whenever the hell it is. After tonight, I don't really care at this moment. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome to the show number 34. Cut down the nets after Indiana beat North Carolina in 1981. Also, a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Help me welcome to the show, Steve Risley.
Mike, how you doing tonight?
I'm just doing great. My question is this. After watching that game, I'm sure, you probably loved watching, the shit show at the end of the bench in Nebraska. My question is, what do you think would have happened if, Chuck Franz and guys like that would have been doing that at the end of the Indiana bench?
Well, first off, let me just say that didn't affect the outcome of the game. Okay, that had nothing to do with the outcome of the game, and anything you say beyond that becomes sour grapes because you lost the game. But that being said, I got to comment on it because it's silly. It's disrespectful to the game. It's disrespectful to the Big Ten. It's disrespectful to the Indiana team. If you're on a basketball scholarship, and guess what you're basically signaling there with that is, I'm never going to play, so I might as well make my legacy to be part of the Gong Show at the end of the Nebraska bench. Because obviously they were more well-versed on that than they were on any fundamental skills, or which we never got to see that. Of course, they never got in a game, or what Indiana's strategy or offensive plays were, or anything like that. So I thought it was Bush League. I thought it was very Bush League. Even if we had won the game, I was already commenting on Twitter that I thought it was Bush League. And it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to Indiana, to the game, to the Big Ten. And if I was their coach and that was going on, I would have stopped that shit real fast. And I think the most coaches in the Big Ten who are quality coaches would have done the same thing. I don't think Archie would let that go on in Indiana. We all know what Knight would have done. They'd all been playing in the Hyper building tomorrow morning with the rest of the IGA slow break leagues that are going on there. But that being said, that had nothing to do with the basketball game. But thanks for letting me get that off my chest because I thought it was totally Bush League.
Yeah, and I've seen other teams do it before. I remember the Arizona team that was led by Sean Elliott and Steve Kerr doing it all the way to the 88 Final Four, and I thought it was Bush League then, and I liked that team.
Yeah.
So we're going to get off that.
It's just Bush League.
Yeah,
get off of it.
There's no reason to talk about it. What we got to talk about is this.
No.
Indiana had won 4 consecutive games, hadn't really beat anybody in those 4 games. And we talked about this. We'll find out if this team's changed or not when we get to the last 2 games. And to me, this was the same thing that we've seen all year, which is why they haven't been able to beat the better teams. And that's the fact that they play 30 good minutes, but you get a 4 or 5 minute section in the first half and a 4 or 5 minute section in the second half where they just fall apart and look like they don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's going to be very difficult for me to mount an argument against you on that. I thought that, in the 4 games that they won, I wasn't really as concerned with the opponents they were playing. To me, their opponent was themselves. And I really felt they were measuring up to themselves. I thought they were playing as good as they could play, given how far they had come throughout the course of the season, and were doing a good job. And they were finding ways to win ball games, and they were finding ways to make big plays to lead them to win ball games. Again, obviously, the quality of the competition you're playing definitely factors into the game, and we saw that tonight. What disappointed me probably the most tonight were the start of the game when I was begging the team to find anything to block out, let alone block out a person in a white jersey. Just go block out the water bucket. Get a body on somebody and block somebody out, because we had so many opportunities to take control of that game early in the game that we just continually let them get second chance opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and just we allowed them to stay in the game when they were just kind of warming up like we were warming up. The start of the game was kind of a grind type basketball, and neither team was playing well. Both teams had 4 or 5 turnovers early in the game, but we just wouldn't get a body on anybody. We wouldn't block out. We wouldn't do the fundamental things that we needed to do. That started the game. We grounded out. We got back. We got a lead. Okay, I'm thinking, okay, we really put ourselves in a good position here. And we really, we didn't play our best basketball. We didn't play the best basketball we played in the last 5 games, but we're beating a good team at halftime. And we're doing it without a lot of three-point shots. I think we had like 6 3-point attempts in the first half, which is not a lot for an Indiana team. And we're still, relatively in good shape here. We come out the first 3 minutes of the second half. I want to put this on the coaches. I'm just going to flat out say, to me, this is the coaches' fault. We just puked on ourselves in the first 3 minutes of the second half. Turnover, not ready to come out and defend what you're playing for in any way, shape, or form. And if the coaching staff can't do a better job of getting its team ready to play, and I know people are going to come back and go execution, and right. It's a 2-pronged attack there. But we were not prepared mentally to come out and take control of the game in the first 3 to 5 minutes of the second half. And any great coach will always tell you the first 5 minutes of the second half are the most critical period of time in any basketball game. That's when you dictate the ebb and flow of the second half of the game. We just puked on ourselves there. And I put that on the coaching staff. I'm sorry. Either great coaching staff, good coach, we're going to be fine with Coach Miller. But I think he took that one away from us with not preparing that team ready to go in the first 5 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, and there's a few things here that stood out to me. Number one, Devontae Green did not play well. 6 turnovers, 4 points. I think he had 2 assists and a rebound. McRoberts gets in foul trouble early. But the thing that killed this and lost Indiana the game was the fact that Indiana outshot Nebraska from field goal 2-point range, basically. They outshot them from the free throw line. But when you look at it, 19 turnovers for Indiana, 14 for Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's 5 right there. And then you look at the total rebounds. Nebraska out rebounds Indiana 39 to 33.
6 rebounds, yeah.
Yeah, and Freddie McSwain, no rebounds.
No rebound, and there you go, 19 to 11 on offensive rebounds. I mean, we just wouldn't block anybody out. We were giving them second point opportunities left and right. And as a coach, you recognize that. And you have to just go down to the end of the bench and say, who the hell wants to go do what I want you to do? And if it's the 12th guy on the bench, then, put him in and see if he's going to do that. Because when you're at this one, and this was a one and done time for IU. Okay, and there's so few coaches in the country that can coach one and done basketball, and this is a perfect example. And this was a one and done game for Indiana. Essentially, now their only option to play is to win the Big Ten tournament. Their chances of doing that are not strong. Okay, they're not in our favor by any stretch of the imagination. And we could not get this team to understand that concept of one and done. And granted, I understand this is not Miller's team. This team has come a long way, but they had came. They had came to that point where they put themselves in position to be able to close it out, and they didn't close it out, basically. I mean, that's all there is to it. But this one's on to everybody. Devontae Green, in terms of his play, you're always going to have a player not play well. Okay,
this is the thing now.
Get that into your coaching system right away. You better understand that. You better have a game plan that says one of our players isn't going to play well. Who do I have ready to go when that player, not if that player doesn't play well, when that player doesn't play well? Because we never, in 81, I don't think, the only game I ever saw everybody playing well was when we beat Maryland in the first game of the national championship tournament
up in Dayton.
In 1981. Yeah, in Dayton. We had everybody won the game played well. Everybody did. Nobody didn't play well. Other than that, I don't think we had another game all year. Kitchell gets into foul trouble. First 3 minutes of the national championship game. Never in the game. Doesn't play well. Somebody steps in. I mean, but you, as a coach, you better be prepared for somebody not playing well. So he didn't have his best game, but we should have somebody in there ready to step in. And we put Durham in the game, or is it Durham or I can't number 2, Newkirk. You think of his name right now. And with 4 minutes to go, we pull We pull Johnson out, trying to give Johnson a little bit of a breather. And then he just falls apart. He just gives us nothing, which leads me to my next point. Son, you're 21 years old. You're playing a 40-minute basketball game chock full of 8 timeouts, TV timeouts, 4 timeouts per team, all of which are being used. You need a breather? Suck it up and play, boys.
Yeah, and the thing that bothered me, Steve, was this, though. The reason they got that lead and the reason they were in that game in the middle portion of the game was Indiana had Justin Smith played his ass off. He scored 15 against Iowa, came back with 16 off the bench with 8 rebounds tonight. But the thing is this, when you look at the stat line, he only played 25 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. You know, and that's another thing. If you ever went back and looked at our timesheets in 81 or 76 or 87, I only use those because those were the championship years. But if you ever followed Knight's career, I don't think you'd ever find a game where he started the same lineup 3 times in a row. Maybe in 76 he did, because that was different. But in 81 and 87, lineups changed every game depending on who the personnel was against you and who was showing good work in practice. And minutes were doled out based on effort given prior to the game. And, here's a great opportunity to play kids that are playing well right at the moment, practicing well at the moment, that are carrying you right now, run with them and go, and live and die with those guys. So it's easy to find fault. I'm disappointed for the team more than I am upset. I'm just disappointed because I thought they'd really battled hard all the second half of the Big Ten and put themselves in this position. And I really felt at the beginning of the game, the way we were grinding them in the first half, but we reverted. We reverted back to our own natural instincts, our own national weaknesses, and I didn't think coaching responded to it well, and it resulted in the Gong Show getting more attention at the end of the game than the game was getting at the end of the game.
Yeah, and the thing is this, Steve, from watching these guys, I didn't question their effort tonight. I think they played a hard-nosed game.
They played hard.
The problem, again, is not the effort, but is the effort mentally.
Exactly. They weren't prepared.
Yeah, because if you look at it, the start of the first half was just like the start of the second half. Only luckily Nebraska came out cold, too, because Indiana had 4 turnovers in the first 2.5, 3 minutes of the game.
Mm-hmm. It started Nebraska. They started as badly as we did. It started the first half, and that's what kept that said. We were allowing them to stay in the game. And I said that earlier in the show. And then we come out second half, and we have really momentum on our side, control. We've got them doubting themselves a little bit possibly, and we don't respond to the start of the second half, but they do. And they slowly we were battling not to take the lead, control. We were battling to stay in it. Okay, there's 2 different things there. We start playing not to lose versus playing to win. Nebraska came out second half and started playing to win. We came out playing not to lose, not intentionally, just because we dug a hole for ourselves. So then we had to start being a little more cautious about what we were doing, and then we start second-guessing ourselves. We start being a little less forceful with our passes. We start worrying about fouls that we've committed because we made dumb plays by not blocking out earlier. I mean, it all steamrolls. It all steamrolls. It's a mental basketball's a mental game. It's a very mental game, and it's how you look at things on the court, whether the glass is half empty or half full, or whether you think you're in control or not, and what your highly paid coaching staff has done to get you ready to go. That's what they're there for.
Yeah,
to impart the wisdom and knowledge and the motivation on these kids, and to be smarter than them, and to tell them that this is what's going to happen to you right now. I saw it. And I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal in any way, shape, or form. I just knew what kind of precarious situation we were in, and I knew how critical the first 3 to 4 to 5 minutes of the second half were going to be. And as soon as that started happening, I'm like, I looked at my wife and I said, "We're dead. We aren't going to overcome this." Because
the loss brings Indiana to 16-13. We've had this discussion. I thought they had to win the Big Ten tournament no matter what they did the last 2 games.
Yeah.
They might have had an outside shot to get in if an at-large bid, winning the last 2 and making it to the semifinals or the finals. But what it comes down to now is to get to the NCAA tournament, they're going to have to win the Big Ten. Friday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, they play at home, Assembly Hall, senior night. Indiana hosts Ohio State. Ohio State looked good tonight, but they played Rutgers. They won 79-52.
Yeah, I watched the Ohio State game, and Rutgers wasn't their opponent. Ohio State is ready to play.
Yeah.
Ohio State's on a mission. I mean,
and they were coming off two straight losses also.
Right. Yeah, and they came back and they responded well. I watched the entire game because I wanted to get a really good feel of what we were going to be facing Friday night, and I'm going to tell you what, it's not to say it can't be done. I still think Indiana's good enough to play with Ohio State. Physically, I just don't know where we're going to be mentally. We'll see.
But I'll give you this right now. I think any hope of winning the Big Ten tournament, they have to beat Ohio State. And the reason I say that is if they beat Ohio State, they've probably played 40 straight good minutes of basketball. You'll have some confidence going into it. But if they come out and they get hammered or they lose by any amount of points, just a loss, they're going into the Big Ten tournament facing, to win it, probably having to beat 2 or 3 ranked teams in back-to-back days. And I don't see how it happens even if they beat Ohio State Friday night. But I think the only thing that would give me a sliver of hope is if they could actually do it Friday night. I'm just not going to hold my breath.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with you. I mean, I'm not going to even try and debate you on that one because you just did the analysis any better than I could ever possibly do it. I hate to admit that, but you actually were pretty smart there.
It's because I went to Indiana State, Steve.
There you go. Home of the
schools. State schools are always the smartest kids.
Basically, in my opinion, if Indiana loses to Ohio State, they're so deflated because they know the only thing they're playing for is an NIT bid, which they don't want to play in the NIT. They'll consider that. I know even the players, any player that ends up in the NIT feels that as a defeat. I'm playing on a team or a program with the caliber of Indiana.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quick.
I don't overall, of course.
You played in the NIT in a different time, 1979, where I think there was only 32 teams that made the NCAA tournament. Was that season a disappointment when you found out you were in the NIT instead of the NCAA? I just want to know, kind of for the listeners, the difference, if there was any difference in 1979 and now in having to play in the NIT.
The only thing that I remember about that whole thing was I felt top to bottom we were a better team than Indiana State, and I felt we could shut Bird down, and we'd already beaten Michigan State, so we were very disappointed. We felt we deserved to be where Michigan State and Indiana State were that year, and we took the NIT tournament, which back then, of course, you only had 48 teams in the NCAA, so there were more quality teams in the NIT. We took it as a mission statement to go out and prove to ourselves and to everybody else out there that we were the third best team in the country that year at that point in time. And I kid you not, that's exactly, we hated it. And we hated it so much we were going to win it. And but we actually played our best basketball all year long because we were so pissed off about being there. And then I'm watching Indiana State and Michigan State, a team we knew we were better than, except for one player who was the best college basketball player in the game. But we knew with Knight we could shut him down, and we'd already beaten Michigan State that year. So, yeah, we were very resentful about playing in the NIT that year. And so, yeah, that's no prize. It's no prize for a team from a program like Indiana to go play in the NIT. It wasn't then. The only thing that even makes me swallow the fact is that we won it. And we won it.
And you beat Purdue, so that helps.
Yeah, we got to beat Purdue and Ohio State. So we got to drill 2 teams in the Big Ten. And so we played Ohio State the first game, shut down Kellogg and Williams, came back the next night in championship game and beat Purdue with Seasting and Gilbert.
And the thing is this, when you look back at that season, the thing that shows you the NIT was different then is the Purdue team you beat was actually ranked number 15 in the country.
No, like I said, it was a different world, but that doesn't excuse the fact that we were playing what we saw it as a loser's tournament.
Yeah.
And you can call it whatever you want to. You can say whatever it is. It's a loser's tournament. and we knew that, and we were just pissed and as resentful as hell. The Knight didn't let us forget it. One day of practice that we were going to play in that thing. He was more pissed than any of us were that we were playing in it. He knew how good our team was.
Yeah. Well, that was the year you guys lost like 12 games, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he knew how good we were. You know, Woody had his best season really without any injury. You know, Whitman and Kitchell were making contributions. Ray was playing good. You know, Landon was a freshman, and we had our collection of talent that would, for the most part, eventually carry us. Lose Woody, pick up Isaiah is really the only big difference there. But we were all not happy to be there. So,
well, what I remember from that season, the kind of killer there was you guys had a 3-game stretch where you got beat by a Minnesota team that wasn't very good, even though they had Kevin McHale. Then you guys lost big to Iowa, and then you lost big at Michigan State.
Yeah, we weren't very mature. We were young. We were relying on a lot of young players to play. You know, I don't know that we even had a senior on that team in '79 that made significant contributions. Because I can't, off the top of my head, I can't. Woody and Bush were juniors. Benson was gone. I was a sophomore. Ray was a sophomore. Whitman and Kitchell were freshmen. Landon was a freshman. I mean, I don't think there was any upperclassmen really that made any real significant contributions to that season that I can recall off the top of my head. So, but anyway, back to this team. It was, you know, I think this team matured a lot. It grew a lot. I think it's really starting to define a culture for Coach Miller. You know, now we have to really focus on, right now our whole focus and purpose on is recruiting, in my opinion. You know, we've got to really be now trying to showcase ourselves as to what is going to be next season for Indiana basketball. And, you know, there's always still a chance we could somehow win the Big Ten tournament. I mean, until the game's over, you never count it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've showed that they have some players. If it was to all fall together, there's no reason to think that could happen, but we have seen teams do that before. But Friday night, they play Ohio State at 8. We got to go live right after that, Steve?
Live right after the game, Friday night at 8. I'm going to stay home and watch this game. And you know, hopefully we make a good, strong showing against Ohio State. We beat them. We respect our seniors. You know, we get an opportunity to send our seniors off who've given us, you know, 4 years of effort and commitment through some tough times in Indiana basketball. And I want to really congratulate those guys, all of them that have stepped up and stuck with the program. You know, when maybe the program wasn't sticking with them as much as we liked to hope it would have all worked out for them. And we get ourselves into the Big Ten, go out to New York and on a good note, on a high note, and we do some damage. And we do some damage, and then, you know, we let chips fall where they may, and we see what happens.
All right, Steve, you want to tell everybody where
if we're going to go play in the NIT, if we're going to go play in the NIT, let's just go there with the mentality we're going to win the damn thing. And you can lay some foundation and some culture and some more stones right there with winning the NIT. All
right, Steve, you want to tell everybody where you can find us on social media?
Yeah, Grilling Truth Hoops on Twitter. That's Risley34 on Twitter. You've got all the Facebook websites and all that, so I'll let you cover that. It's been a good season. We've gotten better. We continue to get better. This was a game where I think we regressed a little bit at a time when we didn't need to regress, and with that, I'll let you close it out.
All right. Well, next year, hopefully, we're doing this show talking about what kind of seed Indiana could get when it's tournament time. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.